Alright guys, in today's video we're going to be going over some insane tips that you can use in your gameplay to really push progression, whether it be PvE or PvP. These are going to be gameplay strategies you can utilize to soar through the campaign, soar through dungeons, even push your PvP rating at a degree higher than what your level should dictate. This is something I've done. I've already gathered 130 some sigils. I only have 4 stages left, I think. And I've been using these tricks religiously to punch up 1-2 levels in the heroic campaign, which if you've played the heroic campaign at all or you know people playing, ask them what that's like. It is insanely difficult. So you're going to want to use these tricks. I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. We're going to have a bunch of videos coming out today. One of the most pivotal gameplay interactions you can do is to manipulate the enemy's positioning. So what we're talking about there is we're talking about turning the enemy around, making them path in a certain direction, just basically getting them away from where they were pathing to begin with. So let's go ahead and watch this. You can see my Tyrion is headed towards this boss. This boss, for those who don't know, throws a hammer down and it does a chain after that. And it absolutely obliterates people. This is the heroic campaign, so it's pretty difficult. So my Tyrion is gone, but what I did is I summoned in a Warsong Raider, who I know is a ground unit. It's going to run right past this unit, which is going to turn him around. So the boss turns around away from that Huntress. So the Huntress is going to be able to get damage off without instantly dying to the chain attack, which is also why I kind of stuttered before putting that Huntress down directly beside the Warsong. I also timed this in such a way that the Warsong Raider is going to meet up with that Dwarven instead of outrunning the boss, because the boss will leash. If the Warsong Raider runs too far, the boss will leash, turn around, and hit the closest unit. There's no aggro table, it's just the closest unit that gets there first. So let's watch this play out. You can see he goes directly for that Warsong Raider, and my Huntress is just teeing off on the boss from behind. The Warsong Raider dies, and it's hard to notice because I did it so quickly, is this little 22 underneath the boss's health pool. I summon in an unbound unit who is closer to the boss than the Huntress is. So the boss stays on the kobold, allowing my Huntress to just get amazing amounts of damage done, and then I'm able to beat this level that I had a hard time with. Now you can employ this strategy in many ways. That Quail Boar is definitely an S tier character for this reason. It is unbound, it pops out right away with the talent Tunnel Vision, I believe. And so even in a mode like PvP, I can throw that Quail Boar right behind a very high damage range unit, especially the range units that have splash damage, like the Pyromancer or the Ogre Mage. And so my squishy units that are approaching those units that I want to be able to get the first shot off so they can kill will be protected by that Quail Boar or a tank that runs by a range unit like you just saw here. They're protected from the initial onslaught of walking into that damage, especially if they are outranged, and then they're able to get the kill, and I won that exchange. So manipulating the position of your enemy is a very, very important strategy to employ both in PvE, PvP, and especially in the dungeons. You're going to find it's going to help you quite a bit there. One thing that we just saw in that past example of manipulating the position is the abuse of flyers. So flyers have a lot of enemy units that can't actually hit them, like that Warsong Raider versus the boss. In this stage in particular, we have a bunch of spiders on the ground. This is the big mechanic for this level, but if I throw something like a dragon in that does consistent flying damage, it can't be hit. Now, of course, flyers do have weaknesses, right? They're very squishy, they're very susceptible to high-ranged damage units such as the Ogre Mage, which we're about to see, or the Dark Spear Troll, or even the Pyromancer. So there's definitely weaknesses to flyers, but they're kind of like the only unit that is immune to about 50% of enemy units. So try and abuse flyers whenever you can. You're definitely going to want to have at least 1 flyer in your army, but probably 2. Whelplings are S tier. They're probably just going to make your list no matter what. Drakes are really growing on me too. They're probably about 8 tier once you get that Mother Dragon talent. But yeah, so abuse your flyers. There's a bunch of other reasons we're going to talk about a little bit that also leads to flyers being really good, but beware their squishiness. Own the high ground. Yes, this is a very, very important strategy, especially in PvP, but also in a lot of PvE stages. So there's interesting interactions when you have a higher elevation than your enemy, as we're going to see here. It doesn't just affect flyers, though. That's not what I mean by high ground. Any sort of range unit, including harpies, actually, can hit beneath elevation. So let me fast forward a little bit, and you can see my Drake is going to meet. He's going to fly over the bridge, and he's going to meet this this tank, this Blackrock tank. But the thing is, Jaina's pathing up. But the thing about Jaina here is she will not attack up, even though she's a range unit and would normally hit the Drake. Because he's elevated above her, the range units don't hit up. So it's an easy kill. And I think we have another example a little bit later with the Safe Pilot. So here we can see we have a whelpling, there is a fire hammer, and the drake and the whelpling just go and tee her off. So getting that higher elevation, very important. Sometimes it's better to be reactive instead of proactive. So this is a very, very difficult heroic campaign node. It starts with just like a billion spawns coming at you. And here it was so much better to just react to what the enemy does and then have the reaction I do be a stronger counter push. So what that means is I get slammed by the enemy and then I'm able to take that wave out, but I win the exchange in such a heavy manner that I'm actually able to get a little bit of push out, and then I'll be able to eventually win this, even though I took an insane amount of damage to let my gold pile up and address their push. This is also something that you do in PvP. Sometimes you can let the opponent get an entire army at you. We talked about armies earlier, and then you could hit it with a polymorph, hit it with a safe pilot, hit it with whelplings, whatever the case may be, completely annihilate it. So what you've done at that point is you've spent maybe 6 gold and you've cost the enemy 12 gold worth of units. They may have no gold stockpiled left because they just spammed you with unbound units, and then your counter push actually starts owning the map. And when you start owning the map and owning those objectives, you hold that advantage and you keep reacting to what they're doing. Now, there is also benefit of being proactive if you have a higher skill level. If you are attacking from different lanes instead of just one lane, it's much more difficult to be reactive, which is why this node was so difficult. But sometimes it's better to be reactionary. There's a reason counter punching is a thing in mixed martial arts. It's very important, especially in PvE, and I'm really talking about dungeons right now, where you don't want to send in single units, single file into a boss. Now, bosses, as we start ramping up, they're just going to be one-shotting even your tankiest units. It could be a Tyrion, it could be a Rivendare, it could be a Fire Elemental. This boss is not a great example of that, but a lot of bosses, they hit super hard. So it's important that instead of sending single units in, you send in an army, a group of minis. It could be a couple squads thrown in there. It could be an unbound unit to turn the boss around right before a different unit comes in there. But you want to send in basically meat shields so that some mini, any mini, gets some damage in and you're not just flushing your gold down the drain. All right, so in PvE and to a certain extent PvP, there's some environments you can absolutely abuse. So you see here in this map, they summon these swamp creatures. They're super tanky. They're a big headache to get through. They don't hit very hard, but again, super tanky. So I throw my Sylvanas in there. She dies very quickly because she's so squishy, but she summons a Banshee and then she mind controls that unit. You can see I already mind controlled a different one who's heading over there now. So I'm just kind of cycling back down to my Banshee, and again, I'm going to mind control this one. I have a certain Talon that's going to heal him up, and now my units are going to make it all the way to the boss, and I've essentially used this heroic campaign's affix, or whatever you want to call it, against it. So I'm actually going to beat it here. Now, there's other different environments that are even crazier that you can abuse. One of the last stages in the game is actually this level. Now, this is not a permanent freeze in the normal campaign, but in the heroic mode, if you get hit by this ice, it's a permafreeze. And I speed this up because it does take a little bit to get through. But I barely have to acknowledge any enemy units. I just have all inbound. I've already completed this one, so it's a free 300 gold. In the heroic campaign. It's just beating that stage, which was a lot of fun, actually. So there are nodes like this where you can absolutely just abuse the environment to your advantage and get easy wins. Stealing units with the Banshee is a big one, and then just abusing environmentals itself. Denying enemy gold is probably the most important thing in PvP, but in PvE, it's also crucial. It's just AI, but the more gold that AI gets, the more it's going to just spam units at you, and you will quickly find yourselves out of control. I would argue that the enemy's gold, denying that and getting it for yourself, is more important than getting your own gold. So you see in this map, there's 2 crates at the top, there's the 2 bases, and then there's 4 gold mines and a crate right in the middle there. I am spamming my unbound units to deny those gold chests to the enemy, and after a little bit, you're going to see I just start ignoring my own chests. Now, the boss is slowly getting whittled down. You can see I am sort of dying to the environmental stuff, but that's okay because I'm grabbing their gold. My units are then in position. I'm tickling the boss a little bit, but those tickles, they start to add up to little scratches. And just deny, you steadily get a little advantage. And by the end, the boss is just begging for mercy. And this is mostly true in PvP. You really need to deny your opponent gold mines and gold chests. There's always gold mines, like it's a mirror, right? PvP is a mirror, which is why when you play it, you're always in the bottom left and the enemy's always in the top right. Because it is a mirror, both you might be trying to deny your gold, And then you might want to be reactive. We talked about reacting a little bit earlier. You might want to be reactive instead, and if you see he summons a Dark Iron Miner, you spam him with a quick Safe Pilot rocket with the coming in hot, destroys the miner, and then off you go. Or maybe you want to use that Safe Pilot to instantly steal his chest, and then you have some sort of different kobold heading that way. It's more important to steal the enemy gold and then make your offensive or your reactionary defensive push than to do that right away, and then they can react on you, but they've already collected the gold, or maybe they didn't even collect the gold. They're just going to react on you, and then it's a one-to-one trade. So deny, deny, deny. That is the name of the game. That's going to be it for these tips, guys. I got a lot of videos I got to do today, so we'll probably revisit some of these more in depth. Stick around. We're going to do a most important traits, because that is a huge trap to fall into, is picking the wrong talent for your minis. That is a huge time loss, especially for you free-to-play folk. So I want to make sure that you don't grab those wrong talents. It's kind of irreversible. So we're going to do that video next. Look out for it. It'll be out today. Hope you enjoyed this one. And as always, stay happy, healthy, and have fun. Bye for now. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.